開會嘅法定人數。
We have a quorum. I call the meeting to order. Let's invite the Secretary for Education and his team to be seated.
請緊啊！打嚟4分鐘，1個鐘頭都冇，4、3都12。我相信冇。歡迎局長，一個啊，局長啊。
Good morning, Secretary. Are you on your own?
早晨，早晨，請坐，請坐。
Good morning. Please be seated.
早晨，早晨。好，首先呢，多謝局長同。
First of all, I thank the Secretary and his team for attending this meeting. Secretary, would you please take us through the policy initiative of the policy address in relation to education? That is paper number CB-4318/12-13/01. Thank you. The SARG launched education reform in 2000, and with the effort made by various sectors, in particular that of the education, we are progressively completing the various key areas. And this year, the 334 academic structure has been implemented. International education studies show that Hong Kong's education system and our students are one of the best in the world. As the CE pointed out in his policy address, education policy has entered a stage where consolidation is needed. I want to emphasize that that doesn't mean the administration attaches a little importance on education. During this period, our task is to let our policy and initiatives take root for them to flourish. And we will put in place improvement measures to enhance our education quality. We have to follow up on our past success and prepare for our brighter future. This is no easy task. Education is a long-term work which requires long-term planning. We have to maintain stability of our education system and policy, and this is what is reflected to us by the practitioners in the education sector. We'll continue to listen to this sector and, if necessary, introduce enhancement and fine-tuning measures. In other words, the key area of the Education Bureau is to enhance existing measures to provide a better quality education. We have submitted a paper to this panel setting out the key areas of the coming year, and I will go over the salient points. First, we will launch free and better kindergarten education service. In this year, the Education Bureau will set up a task force to study on 15-year free education, its feasibility, and how to enhance the quality of kindergarten education. We will also take special care on students with special education needs, including those in the special schools and mainstream schools. We will increase resources to launch integrated education. I'm aware that the panel has set up a subcommittee to study this area, and I will be happy to listen to members' views. And as to non-Chinese speaking students, we have last year sought funding approval from this council to expand the examination fee remission scheme to help non-Chinese speaking students to take non-local examination on the Chinese language. And we will at the same time enhance the summer bridging program for this group of children to let parents accompany the children to go to attend such courses. We will continue to work with Scholar to work on an incentive scheme to enhance the professional capacity of Chinese language teachers to teach non-Chinese speaking students to learn Chinese language. Apart from all these measures, we will review the new senior secondary academic structure to provide a multiple pathway for students, and we will also promote the qualification framework to put in place a career path and encourage lifelong learning to improve the quality of our workforce. Thank you. I will say the names of the members who would like to ask questions. Kenneth Chan, Han Yu Chong, Kin Yun Chung, Fernando Chang, Ma Fong Kwok, Peter Chang, Helena Wong, Priscilla Leung. 10 members in the first round. 10 minutes. Question and answer first. Mr. Kenneth Chan. Well, I have to declare that I am a teacher. I'm a part of a teaching force in the Baptist University. I think, Secretary, you are quite something because because of you, Baptist University have sent people here to camp to express their discontent. Well, you have a lot of stories to tell, and they're endless. But when it comes to land for education purpose, it should be set aside for education, not to cut it in half and let half of them go to residential development. And at the same time, you say to our youngsters that what we're doing now is for your good. If we let you have your way, those who are living in the dormitory there will be staring at luxurious flats across the street. How can you convince our youngster that under your leadership, they will have a brighter future? And I would like to ask questions on 2 areas. First, it's also something to do with university students, to increase the opportunities for overseas internship for our university students. You have not given any details why there are only opportunities in the mainland but not other places in the world. And what about resources and other details? Someone wondered whether this is just a different form of national education that you would very much like to implement. Another area, then 15-year free education. C.Y. Leung said in his election campaign that this is going to be put in place, but now you only set up a task force to study it, or a committee to study it. Will it be a committee set up under the company's ordinance? Secretary, first, the Baptist University. The UGC clearly made it, have clearly set out areas that would meet their requirement. The northern part of the site will be put to this use. For the other areas that have been returned to the government, which is being dealt with by the town planning board, and in relation to overseas training program, and I would like to defer to my permanent secretary. But when it comes to the committee, we are sincere to implement the 15-year free education in the coming 5 years. But there are lots of complicated issues, so we need to have a committee to study these issues. But we do have the sincerity. What about training programs on the mainland? Permanent secretary. There is no detail because this is not a new measure in the policy address. It was first proposed in the last government. The approach is to give funds to schools for them to make their own arrangements. And as to the specific arrangements, there may be some matching grant. Some education institutions have made arrangements to other places, but the majority of them are related the mainland because it's closer, and we see that the economic development on the mainland is prosperous. Back to Baptist University. In the past few years, we have reached agreements when it comes to development of campus and dormitory, and we are working on them, say for example, doing studies, making preparations for funding applications. Well, whether it is a government use or dormitory use, the Baptist University are one of the two have what they need for teaching and dormitory use. Mr. Wong Kok King, I'm concerned about 15-year free education, in particular pre-primary education. Parents are very concerned about this, and this is also an undertaking made during the election campaign of C.Y. Leung. But in the policy address, the chief executive said that a committee is going to be set up to study it. When will the study be completed? We're talking about 15-year free education. That is free pre-primary education service. When will it be implemented? I leave you ample time to answer, Secretary. I thank Mr. Wong for his question. From now on to the middle of the year, we will engage our consultant to collate the information of the 20-odd visits and seminars. So by the time the high-level committee was set up, there will be sufficient information for them to embark on their work. Once the committee has set up, there will be 5 to 6 task forces set up to conduct the study, including the mode of subvention, the operation of these kindergartens, 2 hours plus half a day or full day. On top of that, there is also a qualification of the teaching force. Well, depending on the progress of the committee, I estimate that in 2 years' time we will have a set of proposals ready. And in the meantime, if there are measures that can be implemented on a pilot basis, I would like to see it happen. And in 2 years' time, when we have the findings, there will be public consultation. This is a request of the sector, because we don't want to meet them and then wait for 2 years and then we will meet them again. They want to be engaged constantly, because we're all very concerned. And I'd like to add that this is not just the committee. As I've said in the paper, for some kindergartens, their facilities have seen wear and tear. So we have funding aside for them to improve or renew such facilities. That means the kids in the kindergarten will not be able to enjoy free pre-primary education before they go to primary school.
Tai-fai.
I'd like to talk about the shortage of primary school places in the North District recently, and the increasing number of students coming across the border from the mainland to attend our primary schools, and thus affecting the residents in the North District. I don't think this is a problem that is too difficult to resolve. First of all, going to a school in the same district has always been the policy arrangement, that is allowing the residents, the students to study in the school of their own district. For children who cross the border to attend school in Hong Kong, when the cross-border buses can take them to more distant places. If they come in from Shenzhen Bay, they can go to Sha Tin and Tuen Mun, so that these children who come from the mainland can be sent to schools in different districts, and therefore you would not have to, adversely affect the parents in the North District. I think we already have the policy in place, and we're not talking about discrimination against such children. Why is it that this time we have so much controversies, and why is it that so many parents in North District are complaining? Shouldn't you be reviewing your policy? Secretary. Thank you, Mr. Tam. I'll ask the Permanent Secretary to answer your question. Thank you, Chairman and Mr. Tam. Let's broaden the discussion. The North District is one of the 18 districts. Under the allocation system for P1 places, we cannot have a tailor-made mechanism for one particular district that is different from the other districts. We also must realize that the supply and demand for school places may is in such a way that it's very rare that we have a balance of supply and demand of school places in all the districts. In the allocation for P1 places, about 50% of the places are places which are work on the basis that parents can pick schools in any districts for their children to attend. You may have very good schools in North District, and then for which parents of children living in Sha Tin and other districts can apply for admission. We provide some preference for the residents in the same district. That is, after the quota for non-local, for students not coming from the same district, 50% of the places will be allocated, 10% of which will be allocated irrespective of the school cluster. The other 90% will be allocated to children in the same cluster. Regarding children coming from across the border to attend school in Hong Kong, we do have measures to ensure preference for the local children. So children living in the North District will be allocated to schools in the same cluster. For children coming from across the border, we actually spread them out among 8 different clusters, including Yuen Long and Tuen Mun. So we already have measures in place to spread out these children to the different districts. As whether we can further improve on this arrangement, we are looking into that. In July 2012, since last year, the number of pregnant women from the mainland to give birth in Hong Kong has drastically reduced already. We are working closely with the school principals in North District. In general, they're inclined to support the policy that we should allocate more local children to the schools in the same district. We have now several rounds of discussion, and we hope that we'll be able to arrive at a consensus. Chairman, I'm concerned about e-learning, point 31 of the policy address. That is, since the 2011-2012 school year, a 3-year pilot has been launched, a 3-year pilot program. I'm worried that the progress is too slow. If you look at our competitors, such as Korea, they will very soon be launching e-learning in a comprehensive manner. And even, they were going to give out, printed textbooks. And secondly, and what is more urgent is that the infrastructures in the schools in Hong Kong will not be able to support e-learning. I visited one school last week. Fortunately, that school was supported by certain funds, and they have the resources to implement e-learning. Last year, we had set up an alliance for e-learning. a study was undertaken, and we found that 75% of the schools in Hong Kong do not have the Wi-Fi network ready to support e-learning. So looking at the progress so far, about 35% of the schools don't have broadband with a speed of more than 100 megs. Some only have 3 or 4 megs, which is a speed even lower than the one for our cell phones. I think eventually we're talking about a question of resources. I think you should try to help the schools as possible. Otherwise, if you ask all the students to use textbooks, then I'm sure the computers will break down very easily. Before I invite my colleagues to respond, I'd like to first of all say that the pilot scheme is already in progress. We're not waiting for the final outcome, and we're continuing to step up our discussion with representatives from other countries such as Korea. Permanent Secretary, thank you, Mr. Mok, for the question. On the one hand, we are reviewing the effectiveness of this pilot scheme. And secondly, we're very happy that earlier this year we have already launched 30 electronic textbooks covering both primary and secondary schools. By 2014, we hope that we will have come up with a standard to evaluate or assess the electronic textbooks. Despite it, however, most importantly, we have a one-stop online platform. We also want to, set up, a mechanism for evaluation of e-textbooks so that we will be able to help the teachers. Finally, we would like to have more exchanges with experts in other countries, and in this regard, we're already starting our work. Chairman, I don't think he has answered my question that more resources should be given to schools to beef up the infrastructures. Mr. Yip Kin Yun, Chairman. I think we're overall disappointed with the policy address because unlike the two previous chief executives, the current administration has not indicated it is attaching importance to education in Hong Kong. All the issues that we've been discussing so far, like the sub-degree programs, allocation of secondary school places, and mainland children coming to attend schools in Hong Kong, these are major crises which need to be tackled, but the policy address has not seriously explored or addressed these questions. What is most disappointing would be kindergartens. Those from the pre-education sector have great expectations before the policy address, and they are feel very much disappointed. Mr. Wong Kok Heng asked whether or not you have a timetable, and the secretary told us that this is going to take a long time. I wonder whether or not you could actually, shorten the time. The CE talk about the speed of Hong Kong. Do you really need to take so many years for consultation and planning, so that even before his term expires, you may not even be able to start all these initiatives? Will we be able to see some measures implemented in 1 or 2 years' time? 20 kindergarten operators talked to me yesterday and expressed their disappointment. And during the interim, Mr. Secretary, do you have any specific plans to help the kindergartens operating on a full-day system in economic terms? Are you going to increase the value of the school vouchers? Thank you. Let me say something about the timetable, and then I'll defer to the Permanent Secretary. Time is the essence as far as we're concerned. And some representatives from the kindergartens told us that we shouldn't act in haste, because past experience have told us that regarding half-day and whole-day systems for kindergartens, there was a lot of mess and confusion. Thank you, Chairman. Regarding the kindergartens, if we've already have set up a committee to consult the stakeholders regarding the way forward, at this stage, therefore, I don't think we should make any further major adjustments to the value of the school vouchers. Last time, with the support of the FC, we already have adjusted the value. For this year, for example, is $16,800. Next year will be increased to more than $17,000 in the light of inflation. For the whole day sessions in kindergartens, there will be school fee waivers for children from the more deprived families, so that we can relieve the burden on the parents. What about the whole day system for kindergartens? As I said, first of all, the whole day system. We've implemented a whole day system. We may need to adjust our school fees, and for children coming from less well-off families, they can apply for fee waivers, and the amount of which will be adjusted according to the rate of inflation. So this can actually help relieve the burden on the parents as far as the fees are concerned. Chairman, I'm disappointed in the policy address and the part relating to education. I think Steve already said that you're still adopting a delaying tactic. You still want to say that you want to conduct a study on kindergarten education. Apparently, you have increased 50% the ceiling for the subsidy, but in fact, it worked on a per capita basis, and the absolute amount of subsidy has not been increased by too much. For the NCS students, they have been asking for a curriculum in a second language, and you've not done anything. For special education, we now have children who are seriously mentally handicapped, and the number of caring staff is in shortage, and you're also not increasing the number of places at universities. That is also very disappointing, and I don't have to tell you about the mess in terms of sub-degree programs. The problem arising from mainland children attending school in Hong Kong has turned out to be a disaster already. And I don't think the Education Bureau has given us the correct figures for the Shengshui cluster. How many children have already put in their application, and what is the number of what is the total shortage of places? Chairman, on the 19th and the 20th of this month, the parents submitted the application form for the selection of P1 places. We are now working out the figures. According to past projections, the shortage of school places in the North District, namely the basic number of school places, and not counting the additional measures like increasing the number of classes. The schools are telling us that we are talking about a shortage of about 1,000 odd school places. In Shengshui, there will be a shortage of about 1,000 odd places. The whole of North District. How many people have already put in the applications? As I said earlier, after the parents have put in the application, we still need to check the information. In the first round, parents can freely select the schools of their preference. For the total number of applications that we have received, we're talking about 49,000. I think she is evading the issue. She told us about a few thousand forms received, and according to the estimates of the principals, in Shengshui alone, there is already a shortage of about 1,000 places. Secretary, how are you going to deal with this problem? Permanent Secretary, Mr. Jiang, I think the allocation system is very complex. According to the estimate of several school principals, I mean, their estimate may not be able to reflect the full picture. I think the scheme which allows schools to freely select their children, that scheme, the deadline has passed. But as for the second phase, it's very hard to predict. If everybody would go for the first school of the first preference, then there may not have enough places to meet the demand, and parents may have to opt for the second or third preferences. For the first choice may be a school in Tunmun, the second in Shangshui. Another parent, the first preference is in Fanling, and the second preference in Shangshui or Tunmun. So it's very complicated. For the whole North District, we have a shortage of about 1,400 places, but we may be able to borrow places from the neighboring districts. Then the number will only be a few dozen. We're still talking with the schools regarding the possibility of increasing the number of classes and also building more classrooms. So we've just received the applications. Please give some time to work, collate the figures. And if members are interested, we're willing to provide a background brief to explain how the allocation system works. If you don't understand how the system works, you will not be able to have a full picture.
Mr. Ma Fung Kwok, thank you. Paragraph 23 talks about further education outside Hong Kong. I'm happy to see that they've taken care of local students by exempting our students from taking the joint entrance examination for universities in the mainland. The central authorities has done something, obviously, but it's not responded. There is no similar response from the Hong Kong SARG. So it is not as effective as it's supposed to be. Would you consider offering a loan or subsidy for students who would like to pursue studies on the mainland? It is very important to let local students who are interested on the mainland to go there and study as early as possible, because they will be helpful to their future. I see that some, after studying in the international schools of the Baptist University in Zhuhai, they would like to stay on the mainland. Permanent Secretary, we have liaised with the Education Ministry of the mainland and also organizations responsible for this area. Last year we have held a large-scale exhibition and fair to recommend information about 70-odd education institutions on the mainland. Please be specific. Subsidy. Yes, we have heard demands in this area, but I'd like you to understand that we need to be fair. These 70-odd institutions, they have different selection criteria, which may vary a lot. Well, for example, for a student that hasn't performed as well than other local students, but since he's applied for a place on the mainland, he will get some kind of subsidy. Then is it fair? We are liaising with organizations. The school fees on the mainland are relatively lower. So far, we have not heard anyone encountering problems. If Mr. Ma hears about difficult cases where there is difficulties, then please refer them to us, and we are exploring ways to ensure that it is fair and sustainable. I don't accept your explanation. If you're talking about fairness, well, if they have met the criteria to be if they're eligible for a university place in Hong Kong, then there is no such problem, and they have chosen to study on the mainland. Mr. Peter Chung is not here, so Ms. Helena Wong. Just now, the officials said that for P1, there is a shortage on in the North District for about 1,000 or so. Have you any measures to ensure that students living in the North Districts will be able to allocate a place in the same district where they live in, if they so wish? Well, there are a lot of things that we're not happy about in the policy address. But you said that in your opening remark that our system is quite good and it's one of the best in the world, so there is not much that needed to be done. But that is contrary to what we think. I want to ask about paragraph 30, exchange programs with the mainland. As a teacher, it will be, I think it's good for students to get a chance to go outside Hong Kong. But now you're only talking about the mainland. And, well, you're talking about helping them understand what's going on in China, and then somehow complement it with what they're learning. It is a kind of civic education, and itself is good. But what about the content of these programs? Is it decided? Is it the decision of teachers and schools, or are they just using what is a template? Will they need the approval of mainland officials before they can visit a certain place or see certain things? Are there any measures in place to prevent these exchange programs to become national education, thereby causing worries to the general public? I will ask the Permanent Secretary to answer. Thank you. We cannot give any such undertakings for any district. Even if there is an equilibrium, we will not be able to give this undertaking. 50% of the school places will be allocated at the discretion of the schools. So we cannot guarantee that if you live in that area, you will be allocated a place. And some parents would like to send their children to a different district. So whether it is the North District or not, we will not be able to give this assurance or guarantee. Exchange program with the mainland. The guidelines given to schools and also in our tender exercise is specified that teachers will have to accompany the students, and they will have to trigger analytical exercise. And this is complementary to the secondary and primary curriculum, and we encourage critical thinking. I believe that this will not be an assurance enough to pacify you. Perhaps I will give Ms. Wong an itinerary so that she'll know what students will be hearing and seeing. Next is Ms. Priscilla Leung, but she's not here. Then Mr. Tan Ka-piu. Thank you. Is a project regular of the CCF, the Community Care Fund, is been regularized, and is the subsidy full level subsidy of meal cost and textbook costs. Well, for those who are receiving
50%.
only 50% subsidy of textbook subsidy, there is a need. My second point, students living in remote area. Under the new academic structure, starting from secondary 5, once every week they can attend an intern program. Say, for example, someone living in Tung Chung, they can attend a course in the Institute of Culinary Training. Would that be some kind of subsidy? The International Cuisine College Will there be some kind of subsidy to help them with the transportation fees? For students living in Tongchong, if they can't afford the transportation cost, then they will be confined to areas that is closer. They will not be able to have as many choices as students in other areas. Secretary, I will ask Angelina to answer. The lunch subsidy under the CCF, it's a pilot scheme. It's been in place for 2 years. There has been detailed discussion in the CCF, whether it's primary students, secondary students, full level and half level. And it is the opinion that a full-time subsidy, full subsidy for primary schools will be most beneficial, and that is the direction. The CCF will consider how to regularize this subsidy. And there has been recent discussions about whether it should be in the form of cash or done through schools. So will you consider a 50% subsidy for primary students? Well, the scope of the subsidy is on students in need. For those in need of 100% subsidy, they are in more financial difficulties. About the transportation subsidy, students in financial difficulties will be offered transportation subsidies based on where they live and where they go to school. We also take into account Saturdays. The member mentioned about attending courses elsewhere. We've discussed with parents of these students in financial needs. It's difficult for us to go through them one by one. Last year, we got the approval from the LegCo. There is 1,000 study expenditure subsidy for students with financial need, and those who needs a half 50% of the subsidy, there will be $500. Next, Mr. Peter Zhang. In the paper CB 4318 bracket 12 to 13 bracket 01 paragraph 10 integrated education. Just now Dr. Fernando Zhang mentioned about this. But it seems that there's a ceiling has been raised by 50%. On the face of it, it seems to be good, but we're only talking about a small amount. And if there are $10,000, and if there are 100 students in the school with special education needs, and is it fair if you give them $1.5 million and turn it into special schools? Some schools don't want to take in students with special education needs, and even if they have been taken on, they would not be assisted in making an application for the $10,000 because they don't want people to know that there are such students in the school. Parents know that there is $10,000 available, then they would make sure that $10,000 will be spent on the students, so they are engaged in constant bickering with the schools. Schools don't want teachers to attend courses enhancing their capability to teach SEN students. Then how do you expect them to promote integrated education? For schools who would like to take in SEN students, then you want them to change to a special school. Do you have any plans to review integrated education to go over all the different issues? Secretary, I'll ask Betty to answer. I thank the member for his question. Just now, the member mentioned about the increase of the subsidy, the education subsidy. If there is if it is an SME students, and there is a ceiling of $1.5 million. But there is may not be a need for it to reach that maximum. But I'd like to know about the review. When will it take place? When it comes to integrated education review, it is in progress. We have a working group, and under the working group, there are some outside members from schools, from parent groups, from the social welfare sector, and the healthcare sector. We work together to go over the difficulties they encounter in promoting integrated education, including training to schools and professional support to schools.
I think we've discussed all that before. When you said that when you talk about constant review, it actually means there is no review at all, except that you are, what you're saying is that you're not going to deal with these issues. I think you would need to, provide a forum for the parents, the schools, and the administration to sit down and really have a discussion as to how we can make improvements. Thank you. Priscilla Leung. Chairman, I have two questions. First of all, I accept the proposal that we should set up an international culinary college. It is actually operated by the VDC. I think the most important thing is to offer training opportunities for the students, so that when they graduate, they really are professionals, so that they would be able to be they will be employed not only in the mainland but also in other countries. The second question, which I have been following upon for a long time, and that is the question of general studies. I've met with Mrs. Chair several times before. I expressed my hope that in the course of implementing general studies, please don't make it a compulsory subject for which students have to go through an examination, and it shouldn't be a requirement for university admission. And thirdly, I think we've debated many times over the question of whether or not general studies should be a compulsory subject. First of all, the curriculum for general studies tend to be very diversified for secondary schools. It's entirely up to the teacher to decide what he or she will teach, and the school principal will have no way to monitor the curriculum content and the teaching methods. Even now, I'm receiving complaints because people are so concerned because this is a compulsory subject for university admission. But it's not like Chinese, English languages, or mathematics where you have objective criteria. Indeed, there are some schools which, in order to please the students, some teachers would use vulgar language in class, and in some cases there is no curriculum at all for the subject. And in some schools they only teach politics. And well, I studied politics when I was a student, and the teacher simply give a topic of university education and allow the student to do anything. Sometimes, if a student had offended the teacher, he's getting a poor grade, which he thinks unjustified. So promoting general studies is something which I support. I graduated from Chinese University. I think we were beneficiaries of general studies. But I think the way you implement the program it's actually like putting the cart before the horse, and I think you're letting down many of the parents, myself included. Mr. Tommy Jiang. I need to attend the BSD meeting. I don't know whether, that's why I'm late, so I don't know whether or not this question has been addressed already. I have several questions. First of all, the policy address is silent about children born of non-local parents. Actually, do you have a policy to ensure that students in one district will have priority to go to school in the same district? And secondly, have you ever assessed the total number of children of non-Hong Kong parents who are attending our primary schools? Thank you, Mr. Cheung. I think we already had 3 or 4 questions on the same subject. If you already answered the question, that's fine. I can look up the minutes. We hope that there will be an opportunity for us to convene a special meeting so that we can brief you about the detailed arrangements. And secondly, we do have projections for those who have already been registered. The second phase of the registration has already been completed. So we're still collecting information, and when they're available, we'll do our best to share them with members. Chairman, for many years I've been raising the issue about school vouchers for kindergartens. The policy address this year is still doesn't say whether or not school vouchers will be given to the parents, and that it should follow the parents rather than excluding kindergartens which are charging fees which exceed the ceiling under the voucher system. And I'm very disappointed. So perhaps the Secretary could answer this question. Thank you. I've met with 4 different groups of parents and another 20-odd groups, and this indeed is a very strong aspiration or request from parents. So after the committee has been set up, one of the working groups will focus its attention on this issue. It's a good thing for you to set up the working groups. The voucher system has been in place for more than 10 years, and many of the children already graduated to primary schools, and the second child is yet to come. But we still have to wait for the setting of this committee. I'm really disappointed. Thirdly, our panel also had discussed the question relating to sub-degree programs. The monitoring of school fees. In para 24, you said you'll review tertiary education. But regarding school fees and quality assurance, have you started to do anything about this already? Even for kindergarten education, you are monitoring quality. Why is it that you don't have a similar measure in place for tertiary education? Well, basically, the institutions have their autonomy, and we respect their autonomy, including the autonomy in deciding on their own curriculum or system. So we've been discussing with the committee. We want to enhance transparency regarding the financial operations of these institutions, how they use the funds, and also the criteria according to which they will set school fees. We will discuss all these details with the committee in detail. We have 3 more members for the first round: Mr. Wai Kwok, Sid Ho, and Claudia Mo. We're supposed to finish at 9:30. Mr. Low. I have 2 questions regarding curriculum development. In the policy address, they talk about promoting innovative technology and that we should develop a knowledge-based economy for Hong Kong. The most important requirement of which is talent. In the paper, the section regarding the enhancement of education, we see that we see terms like education, design, and creativity. Under the new curriculum, many subjects have become electives. I was then one of the members to help draft the curriculum. But in the course of implementation, many school principals have told me that there is a shortage of resources, especially qualified teachers to teach these courses. Secondly, a more serious problem is that given that in Hong Kong we do not attach too much importance on technology, many schools worry that if they offer too many of these courses, people will regard the school to be academically inferior, and therefore will not select those schools for their children. So do you have any good way to improve on the situation? And secondly, earlier we had an issue regarding national education. It really caused, whether those are for or against national education, the consensus is that we should have a complete curriculum for Chinese history. I attended, technical school, but from Form 1 to Form 3, I study Chinese history, starting from in S1, where we study ancient Chinese history, and as we move up the ladder, we would study modern Chinese history. It's a very reasonable, curriculum for Chinese history. So, what is the attitude of the Bureau in this regard? Are you prepared to revive the more traditional and also the more very reasonable curriculum for Chinese history? Thank you. I'd like to ask KK Cheng to answer the question. Thank you, Chairman and Mr. Low. Regarding the promotion of technology education, among the electives, we have a few relevant subjects. While our population is declining and the number of electives are also declining, design for subjects like design and technology or visual arts, the number of students opting for these electives is higher than the other subjects, but we continue to work hard on this. Another area is applied learning. Some schools are worried about the labeling effect. So in the current review, we will review the method of evaluation for applied learning. Regarding Chinese history, Mr. Low talked about the history of the different Chinese dynasties. But for most of the secondary schools, Chinese history is a compulsory subject, including ancient Chinese history. Some members in some schools they teach both Chinese and Western history, so that school children can make a comparison. Thank you, Mr. Sito. Chairman, 3 minutes certainly would not be enough. That can't be helped. The last secretary kept telling us that expenses in education took up about 1/4 of the government's recurring expenditure, when in fact it was only 22%. He said that a lot of money has already been spent on education in terms of the percentage share of our GDP. Again, but still I think the amount is not enough. So first of all, I think you need to commit resources. You have to put in the resources into education. For tertiary education, many of our children are qualified for university admission, but they have no access to subsidized places in these institutions. In the policy address, the GC said that he would not be making any major policy changes. Instead, he proposed to maintain the status quo, and I'm very disappointed. We have many problems, including subsidy and various measures would need to be taken to catch up for areas where we are falling behind. But I like to focus on the subject of special education. The Secretary said there will be a review. What we need is a policy study. If we do not review the current situation, if we don't know what problems that we are now facing, if we don't know what are the needs of our students, so the review will be a futile exercise. I think we should be more focused. Let's take a look at the campuses. Chairman, I think you'll be joining us on a site visit soon. For some of the schools, the campus is in such a poor state that it's very much below modern day standard. We have 2 schools for handicapped children. The 2 schools are jointly using one dilapidated building for Qiyan. They don't even have a corridor and so on. And it's also sharing the premises with a welfare institution. And for special education, schools offering special education, for those which are in poor conditions, will you be able to find suitable sites for them as soon as possible so that they can build campuses that are up to present day standard? It's not that we are short of funds. Where have the money gone? Why is it that the money is not spent on the right places? Secretary? Thank you. First of all, the one-fifth of our total expenditure, I think we are monitoring our expenditure very closely. It depends on whether or not it's the recurrent or the total amount. But I agree that this is an important point. Especially when we launch new programs, more resources will be required. On special education, I will be visiting one of the schools, Xi'an, that you refer to. I'll pay them a visit another again. On school premises, we will liaise with the parents again on that. Thirdly, I think members have raised very good questions. For example, doing a stock taking and conducting a review. I will be talking to the committee and come back to members. When? Claudia Mo, you're the last member for the first round.
I'm very happy to hear that the administration will study the feasibility of 15-year free education. Will the Secretary undertake that within the end of this term of government it will be implemented? Secondly, if it is under DSE for the language examinations, I've received a lot of complaints that because of the date when the results are released, it's been put forward from the 20th of July to the 15th. So in November, they had to sit for the examination, and they've lost half a year in taking lessons. Schools are very worried for the 6 languages. It's not just Urdu, French, German. So it covers ethnic minority students. When it comes to this group of students, unfortunately, you refuse to launch the curriculum of Chinese as the as a second language. For this group of people, if they find it difficult to learn Chinese, is it a problem of the teachers or learning or what? Well, you say that this is a consolidation period. Does it mean that you're not going to do anything? Chinese as a second language, we take it seriously. We're fully alive to all the expectations. Well, the question is, what is the purpose of having this curriculum? 6 or 7 groups can give us 6 or 7 different views or goals. There are special arrangements for university admission. For some, it only requires a proficiency for daily interaction. We will take this. We will take the comments seriously, but we have to look at the goal, the objective. Secondly, about the date of examination, it's been slightly put forward. Well, it's not. For these 6 languages, the examination is done by the professional groups, and they are standardized examinations, and they have their own examination schedule because it ties in with the international situation as well. Well, the result has been put forward by 5 days from the 20th of July, and it's seriously affected their learning. No, my understanding is that it is not a result of the examination schedule. Cambridge have set the examination dates, and they've sent representatives to supervise the examination to ensure that it reaches their international standard. So it's under their direct supervision. But my first question wasn't answered. Well, we finished with the first round. The meeting's scheduled to finish at 9:30. We have 6 members in the second round, starting from Dr. Fernando Zhang. 2 minutes question and answer. I will stick to that time. Mr. Kenneth Chan. Sorry, Chairman, the manpower panel which I have to attend has started, so I have to leave. Would you please excuse me? Who will stay? All of them are staying with you? I see that some hands have been raised and they'll be leaving with you. And next, Mr. Kenneth Chan. I'll stay. Question for the Permanent Secretary. Internship or training program. You've given us a standardized response. I think you're quite miserly. We're talking about developing a free trade area with ASEAN. If we have resources, why won't you let schools to decide about sending their students sending their students somewhere else? Yes, mainland is cheap and good, but would you consider letting the students go overseas? Universities have a high level of autonomy. They have a lot of exchange programs with places other than the mainland. Well, I don't know whether it's because the university you work in has less. I know that some universities help students to go to other places for exchange programs or training programs. Some even go to remote areas outside the mainland. So exchange programs of universities goes to not just the mainland, but in the policy address it says that is to increase opportunities for youngsters to engage in training programs with the mainland. All I want to say is that apart from the mainland, there are opportunities overseas. You should not just kick the ball back to the court of universities. I don't think this is the stance an administration with international horizon should have. Dr. Fernando Zheng, about school places in the North District. We all want students living in the area, in particular P1 students, to stay in the same area. The administration kept saying that it's a very complicated allocation system. 50% of them are allocated at the school's discretion, so it can't be done. And then they say, well, they are discussing it, and in the end it may be done. Don't take us around the block. Don't tell us about your mechanism. The principle is to let students living to study in the same district they live in. It's very easy to understand. You can't say that it's because of the mechanism it can't be done. If you want to achieve the objective, you will have to change the mechanism. So in relation to the September intake, can you guarantee that Hong Kong primary students can stay in the same district as they live in? That's the one they live in. Thank you, Mr. Zhang. We will have to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. Unless we overhaul the system, including forbidding parents to choose schools outside the school network. Parents may object to that. I'm not talking about students parents who would like to send their children outside the school network. We're talking about students living in the North District. If they choose the North District, so shouldn't they get a place? Well, if there are good schools in that area, then that is a good school, then students from other districts may want to get a school place in that district. Mr. Ip. If you're referring to any district, then what you say may be true, but we're talking specifically about the North District. Now I want to move on to kindergarten. You said that the sector said that we shouldn't rush. It will take 4 years. Well, 2 years is not a rush. 2 months is, but not 2 years. We want you to implement free education for pre-primary education, but you say that you will study on it. Does it mean that you may give it up, or it may not be put forward, be taken forward? P.S. Let me first answer, and I'll see if Mrs. Yip would like to supplement. I did not attend the 20-odd consultation sessions, but I've read the report. The sector has different aspirations. It's difficult for us to find something that is acceptable to all, because some of them are mutually exclusive. Some of them talk about rentals. They want land for premises, and about the vouchers. We're talking about over 900 schools. How can we find over 900 pieces of land for them? We don't want to give them subsidy because it will in the end go to developers. So it's very, very complicated. And as to the age limit, that itself is complicated too. So in a word, there is a change. Sorry, time's up. Next, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok. Thank you. I want to talk about students studying on the mainland. With academic recognition, they have to have their cases vetted by the HKCAAQ, the accreditation agency, the HKCAAVQ. So I would like to know that will they, if you have any information about what courses or what institutions are recognized, so that it will be information for the students before they plan their study. I'd like to take the opportunity to tell students that for those for those 70 institutions who got the recognition, have their academic qualifications recognized, like as in Hong Kong DSE. So for those studying in those 70 odd institutions, they don't have to worry about the recognition of their study. But for those outside, we need to take into consideration the content of the courses before we can before a decision can be made as to whether it equals to the level in Hong Kong, and it will have to be vetted by the Hong Kong CAAVQ, the Hong Kong Council for Accreditation of Academic and Vocational Qualifications. Mr. Helena Wong. It's difficult to ask students to go to a different district to go to school. Not everyone has a chauffeur. The Education Bureau cannot guarantee students to go to the same, go to a school in the same district. Well, of course, unless the parents wants to send them elsewhere. I do think there is a need to review the system. Ms. Priscilla Leung mentioned about liberal studies. I don't want to lead the Education Bureau to think that liberal studies is not important, or it can be cancelled anytime. I like the Education Bureau to listen to views of different stakeholders. For liberal studies, we're talking about critical thinking, cross-disciplinary analysis, and to encourage students to learn about Hong Kong, the country, and the world. It's difficult when it comes to implementation. And as to what Ms. Leung said, I think it's a different direction, because you're just swinging it to a different end. But when it comes to whether liberal study modules should have examinations, I think different people have different views. Some people say that there is not enough teaching hours and there is insufficient support to teachers. Can you Can you guarantee that there will be small classes for primary and secondary school and more discussions? And about school-based assessment, it is a great burden to teachers and schools. And under this assessment, and if there is a thematic study, it's a great pressure. If you let the students to pick a topic, then it will be difficult, and it's a huge burden on the teachers. Last is Priscilla Leung. I know that Ms. Wong will have a different view, and she said that she's a teacher of liberal studies. I think, well, I said this because I feel the pain because I have children. The Education Bureau is too greedy. They wanted to put everything under liberal studies. So in the end, it's overflown. There's more than they've taken on more than they can chew. They've bitten off more than they can chew. I hope the Bureau will open their ears to listen to us. You have to review the liberal study subject to find out what is actually going on when it comes to teaching. Teachers are having a tough time because music teachers are asked to teach liberal studies. When I was speaking to Mr. Kenneth Chan before he became SG, he was talking about deregulate it. We don't want to regulate it, but we want to ensure quality to meet all the different standards you have just mentioned.
In reality, I think the liberal studies that is being taught at schools is not like what you have originally envisaged. I teach at a university. I think I don't agree that liberal studies should be a compulsory job subject. I think why don't you make it easier for the students? Instead of telling us which subjects we should teach, I think if you don't make it an examination subject, the students will be able to learn in a much effective manner. Otherwise, if it's an exam subject, they will simply memorize everything and then throw it away after the examination. So I hope Mrs. Chair will really consider my suggestion. I think with that we may now adjourn our meeting. I'd like to thank the administration for attending our meeting. Our next meeting will be held on the 7th of February at 4:30 p.m. So if there's no other business, I formally